Well, if you're a gun voter in Northeast Park County, you have a choice to make in the upcoming August 20 Republican Party primary. Representative Rachel Rodriguez Williams or her challenger, David Hill. Who's going to fight for your gun rights in the Wyoming House? Stay tuned, guys. We're breaking this race down for you right now. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners. The primary is coming up very quick now, and we're being asked about competitive GOP primaries all across the state. And in Northeast Park County, we're being asked a lot by our members about this primary between Rachel Rodriguez Williams, the incumbent state rep, and her challenger, David Hill, House District 50. And the question you're asking us, at election time in Wyoming, in a primary, everyone says they're pro-gun. And so oftentimes talk is cheap. And so the question is not who's pro-gun or who claims to be pro-gun, because they all claim to be pro-gun. The question is who will fight for us? Who will actually pick up the mantle and lead in the fight for gun rights in Cheyenne? Guys, we're not going to tell you in this video who to vote for. What we will do, though, is give you the backstory, context, and details on these candidates so you can decide who you think will best represent your view on gun rights in Cheyenne. We're going to combine candidate survey results, public statements made for or against your gun rights, and voting histories to give you guys this deep dive. We're going to begin with David Hill. David Hill, it's a pretty sad picture here. David Hill has refused to fill out his WYGO gun rights candidate survey. And as you guys all know by now, when a candidate will not complete a simple 10-question survey when they need the support of gun voters the most, it is very often, almost always, an indication that candidate intends to not be a fighter at a minimum for your gun rights. In fact, many times it means that candidate's going to join the Rhino Swamp in Cheyenne. And so it also means that we cannot give you a detailed breakdown on what David Hill, how he would vote on gun rights issues of the day. For example, last session we passed House Bill 125. It repealed deadly gun-free zones. Of course, Governor Gordon vetoed it. We have to go back and fix that next session in Cheyenne. Will David Hill vote for it or against it? We don't know because he won't say. The same thing for other questions on our survey. It's an ongoing conversation right now in Cheyenne to not so much repeal all of stand your ground law, but repeal some of the teeth, the key components of stand your ground law. It comes up every other session at a minimum. And we asked David Hill, would you vote to defend stand your ground law or not? And he won't answer the question. It's the same thing with red flag gun seizures. You know, we banned red flags here in Wyoming once and for all last session, Senate File 109. It is law here in Wyoming. And I got to tell you, the rhinos hated doing that. They despised it, mostly because they're rhinos, but also because that law contains teeth. So if an agency were to violate state law and enforce an unconstitutional, illegal red flag gun seizure against you, you could take the agency, not the individual cops, but the agency into civil court for damages. A lot of rhinos want to come back on that bill next session, next year, and repeal the teeth out of the bill, the law, to make it toothless, to make it have no enforceability. That's a real problem. Would David Hill vote for it or against it? We don't know because David refuses to tell us where he stands. Same thing for SEPA. You guys know we passed SEPA a couple years ago. You also know the rhinos passed a very weakened version. It had no teeth, no substance, no protection. It has to be fixed, especially if, God forbid, somehow Kamala Harris is in the White House in January. We asked David, would you help us fix it? Yes or no? He won't say. And last but not least is Fix NICS. You guys know what Fix NICS is. It's mental health gun control. It came a couple years ago. We smashed it down hard. They tried again 2 years ago, kind of quietly. We stopped that again. It's coming back up in the future. It's only a matter of when. David Hill will not tell us if he'll vote for Fix NICS, which is mental health gun control in Wyoming. So very dangerous stuff. The question you have to ask yourself is why? Why won't a candidate for office in Wyoming in a primary publicly put their views in writing? Public statements at a forum don't count for as much. Public statements made on a website don't count for as much because they can be changed. It's hard to hold them accountable. A survey gives us the ability to hold them accountable if they break their promise down the road. For David Hill, he will not do it. And finally, David needs a little more sun. I'll just say that. Looking pretty pasty, David, so get outside and enjoy Park County. It's great this time of year. That brings up Rachel Rodriguez Williams. Now, Rachel's been there for 4 years in the House, and in that time, she has become a dynamo in the fight for gun rights here in Cheyenne. She's been a leader in this fight for the last couple of years, and this year, in particular, she really stood out apart from the crowd. I'm going to begin with her survey. Rachel surveyed 100% pro-gun with WIGO, and what that means is she has promised to not only vote pro-gun, but to lead in that fight by sponsoring and co-sponsoring pro-gun bills. So a very strong survey. You can see her survey right now on our website for yourself. Check it out, download it, save a copy. It's all there for your consideration. But more important than her survey are the actual deeds, what Rachel has actually done under pressure in the Wyoming House. This was a big year in the fight for gun rights. We passed Senate File 109, as I mentioned, our bill to ban red flag gun seizures. Not every Republican wanted to support that bill at all. And many of them fought to weaken it throughout the process. Rachel was a strong supporter of SF 109, and she fought for it on the floor. That's the key here. Talking about it's one thing, but Rachel fought for SF 109. And in particular, she fought against all of the gun control amendments that her own party, the Rhinos here in Cheyenne, tried to ram onto the bill. I was there in the gallery. It was quite a show. This was March 6th, I believe it was, of this past session. And Bob Nicholas, probably the biggest Rhino in Wyoming politics today, in the House, he runs 4 amendments designed to weaken or gut or leave SF 109 impotent with no actual teeth. 4 amendments, 4 roll calls, 4 debates, 4 speeches, 4 back and forths. It was a big, drawn-out affair. It lasted for hours in the House. And Rachel was a hell no on each one of Bob Nicholas's gun control amendments, and she spoke on the floor opposing them in many cases. So very strong showing from Rachel when it comes to SF 109. The same thing for House Bill 125. This bill would repeal deadly gun-free zones here in Wyoming. It's kind of hard to believe, but we have them, and we have a bunch of them. This bill would repeal all of the gun-free zones in the state. Of course, the Rhinos did their damnedest to weaken that bill down as well. With amendments, Rachel was a hell no on all of those. She voted for the bill, and as we all know now, the bill got to Governor Gordon's desk. He promptly vetoes it because he is a Rhino, make no mistake. And then the real fight began. Because, see, even the Rhinos ended up voting yes on HB 125 when it was all said and done, because we believe now that Governor Gordon told them he would veto it when it got to his desk. So after session is over, after Governor Gordon vetoed the bill, we could not override that veto because we were adjourned for the year. The only way to get back in there is to convene a special session and ram that override down Gordon's throat. That requires a simple majority in the House and Senate. We had it in the Senate. We had the votes in the Senate. But over in the House, we lost it because the Rhinos opposed it. But Rachel was an absolute yes vote. She fought for that special session to fix the problem created by Governor Gordon's veto override. So again, key words here: fought, 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 fought. Rachel Rodriguez Williams always fights for the Second Amendment. And finally, last but not least, this is kind of a gun rights issue, but not directly a gun rights issue. You know, everybody in Cheyenne, the Rhino herd, the Rhino Swamp, they hate Wyoming gun owners. They hate you, our members. They hate whiteboard videos like this. They hate our radio ads, our text messages, our emails, because at election time, WIGO members are utterly merciless to Rhinos. And you guys have decapitated dozens of Rhino careers here in Cheyenne. So as everyone knows, the Swamp came after WIGO multiple years in a row, trying to silence us forever. They did that with their BS campaign finance law legislation, House Bill 49. There were others as well. And in a sense, it allowed them to come to us and demand a list of all of our members, all of our donors, gun owners from all across the state who helped us fund ads like this. The implication was very simple. They're going to harass our members to make them abandon WIGO, to muzzle us forever. It was BS. We told them this was BS. Rachel told them this was BS, and she was a no vote on HB 49 because if we don't have free speech rights, then we can't advocate for or against issues, and we can't expose rhinos at election time. Thankfully, Rachel was a no vote on that bill, HB 49. And of course, as you probably know by now, once they enacted that tyrannical garbage, we promptly sued the state of Wyoming in federal court, and we won big in district court. They tried to appeal their defeat. We won even bigger in circuit court. Case closed, game over. We are allowed to expose rhino candidates at election time using videos just like this. And we love doing it. But it didn't have to be that way if more people had followed Rachel's lead and voted no on House Bill 49. So guys, the recap is very simple with Rachel. 4 years, 4 long years of fighting for the Second Amendment in committee, on the floor, roll call votes, amendments, the entire process, free speech rights. Rachel has been there and done that and fought for your gun rights. When it comes to David, we got nothing. He will not survey. He will not tell you and I where he stands on the issues. One thing is clear. When it comes to two candidates, even if they both survey equally, then you always have to decide, well, do the words count more or do the deeds count more? For me, it's the deeds. But in this case, we don't even have a survey from David Hill. That's disturbing. If you see him, ask him, David, why won't you survey with WIGO? What are you trying to hide? Guys, that's our recap in this race. Do me a favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or our website, share it on your own social media platforms. Get the word out. Make sure everyone knows about these two candidates. And finally, get involved in the fight, guys. Go to joinwygo.com to join up today.